Are we truly healthier today, or simply better at detecting diseases? Do we need more doctors or better caliber of them who think differently? These questions and more were asked one of the pioneer and role model in healthcare, Dr. Walid Fitahi, who devoted his life to pioneer a unique approach of healing body, mind, and soul by applying the best healthcare standard and pursuing the divine ethics.
Let's take it one by one. First question is, are we today healthier? And are we today happier than 50 years ago? This has been answered by the World Health Organizations. منظمة الصحة العالمية. Unfortunately, the answer is we are not healthier, neither healthier nor happier. Let's take first healthier. How is it that we're not healthier? We have more technology, we have advanced diagnostic equipments, we have advanced diagnostic procedures, we can do more complex surgeries, we have very advanced medications. Yes, we are better in saving lives acutely. A patient comes to the ER, today we are more capable to provide for this patient more for survival. We can detect disease earlier, we can fight cancer. Unfortunately, when it comes to the chronic diseases, which is the obesity, diabetes, hypertension, and cancer, we lost the battle simply because our lifestyle is much worse than 50 years ago. So whatever we have gained in the ability to manage and treat acute cases, we've lost in the chronic diseases. And unfortunately, 90% of our diseases are nothing but a result of our choices in life. Yes. In the past, we thought genetics contribute significantly to our health. Now we can tell you with full confidence, only 5, at most 10% of our disease related to what we call is our
Lifestyle,
our
epigenetics.
our genes. 90% or more epigenetics. What's epigenetics? Before the Genome Project in 2000, we thought every gene produces one protein. And just to simplify it, we are around more than 100,000 proteins. Think of every protein is a 3-dimensional, like a gear in a clock. Now, as good as the quality of the protein, the good as a person, a human being. What makes a watch works well is the gears. Now think of yourself as, let's say, 120,000 different proteins. Before the Genome Project, we thought every gene produces one protein, but we were surprised that every gene has the ability to produce different quality of proteins based on your lifestyle. In other words, we can, through our lifestyle, turn on and off bad genes. And we have studies not only in terms of اللي هو اللي اسمه zygotic twins, but zygotic twins. Zygotic twins means both of them from the same ovary, same sperm. Nevertheless, you take one of them, put them in a healthy environment, the other one unhealthy environment. If there's a prevalence or tendency for a disease in that family, let's say diabetes or hypertension or obesity, the person who lives a good lifestyle doesn't develop it, turn it off. We go beyond this, even schizophrenia, cancers. So in other words, God gave us the ability to turn on and off genes based on our lifestyle. Unfortunately, today, our lifestyle is much worse than 50 years ago. So we are not healthier than 50 years ago. That's number one. Are we happier? Absolutely not. And if you want to read about a book called, read a book called Dopamine Nation. You see, the more we gain, the more we lose. The more we gain of materialism, the more you lose of your being. The best who wrote about this is Erich Fromm, about to be, to own, or to be. So we are living in a world where people think the more I gain, that means the better I'll be. Absolutely not. There are many studies shows you that there's something called al-iktifa, a point of يعني, satisfaction or what we call the optimal requirement for you. Let's assume that you as a family, your optimal is to make, say a number, 80,000 per year, per month, say 1 million riyal per year. Optimal. That means you can have the best life you want, the best house, the best food, you put your children in the best schools. Now, study shows, as long as you are less than your that point of optimal point, money will give you happiness until you get that point. Let's say that you got you want your 1 million a year, which is optimal for you. Let's say that you inherited 100 million. So money goes this way. What do you think happens to happiness? You would expect it to go up. It doesn't. It actually goes down based on studies. Now, why does it go down? Because God created us in a way that it only will go up in one condition. If you spend that extra money to make other people happy. In other words, begin to give. And I did have many episodes about the wellness of giving. God put in giving, in charity, something phenomenal for a human being to heal internally. To answer your question, we are not as healthy as 50 years ago, neither healthier nor happier. And that takes us to the second question.
Does this require more?
Why is that?
Yeah.
Why is that? It is because we're living in a world of consumption. And the world is run by, to put it in a simple term, who is the culprit? I put one word, the bottom line. The bottom line is how the whole world, run by CEOs, the most important thing for them is the bottom line, the net profit. And they found that they can make more money out of our illness than our wellness. Do you think these food industries who are loading their food with sugar to make us addicted to the product they care about our health? They put sugar even in the vitamins of kids. Because once you eat anything with sugar, it registers in the brain with a dopamine pulse. So next time, without even subconscious level, you'll go and choose that product. So they don't care. Same thing with tobacco industry. Same thing with alcoholism. Same thing with pornography. Is this a civilized world we're living in? Legalizing pornography? This is worse than animals. Because animals, they do exactly what God wanted them to do. So we're talking about a whole industry based on consumption. All they care about is for you to become a consumer, and they make more money out of you, and they discovered they can make more money out of our illness than our wellness. So a solution, we have to raise the awareness. So an individual will become aware that the only way they protect themselves by understanding that game and do not become another victim of that consumption culture. So that's the reason. And that's exactly why we are focusing on Al-Tabib Al-Hakim, the wise physician. The wise physician is one who's going to help his patients, not in terms of giving you, diagnosing a disease, give them a medication or do a surgery. It's about being able to enable that patient to understand what wellness is, what health is. It's a comprehensive mind, body, heart, and spirit. Without this knowledge, without this awareness, every person becomes vulnerable and another victim of this consumption society or machine.
So the question comes: do we need more doctors, or we need different kind of doctor who think differently?
Okay, first of all, we have now to redefine the role of the physician. I have to go back first. Now, there is something wrong about the way we've been taught in medical schools. I myself studied at George Washington, the first Saudi to study medicine undergraduate in the States. And I went to Harvard. And before that, I finished my engineering. I graduated magna cum laude, first in my class, industrial engineering or system engineering in George Washington. So I understand engineering is basically 1 + 1 = 2. Okay? If you want to understand engineering, called the reductionist mentality. You take any machine, break it down into components, try to understand each component, reassemble whatever it is, a watch, a plane, you understand it. When I went to medicine at George Washington in 1987, I was shocked that we're applying the same concept into human being. You understand the liver, the kidney, the heart, the lungs, then bring them together. Absolutely not. We are here quantum healing every single cell of your body. When you're happy, literally, I tell my patients, it will be dancing. Your immune system will boost, your growth hormone will boost, and we're not unhappy, or reverses. Now, and every cell of your body are communicating with others. So what happened actually? Why is it medicine became this way? Simply, you have to go to the history of medicine in the West. If we were, as Muslims, continue to lead medicine, because we led medicine for 1,000 years. As a matter of fact, if it were not for Al-Andalus and Spain, all this renaissance in Europe would not be there. To the point, in the West, what happened is because when the church tried to suffocate science, science had no choice but to let go. You remember how they burned Bruno, the scientist, in Rome, simply because he was doing research. سموها اللي هي heresy. He was doing experimental research. He was burned in Rome. What happened is because the church tried to suffocate science, science said enough is enough. So science came out, and the concept of detachment. That means you treat the body, not the soul, separate. And that's an artificial divorce. It doesn't work this way. We are quantum, mind, body, heart, and spirit. So medicine was based on treating the body. As a matter of fact, when I studied medicine at George Washington in 1987, it was a taboo to talk to a patient about anything but his or her physical illness. I could be kicked out of medical school. They say you're taking advantage of the patient. You have to be detached. Detached. So in other words, you treat the body. Now, this has changed. I did courses with Dr. Benson. He's the founder of Mind Body Institute at Harvard in the 90s. He's Jewish. He talks about the effect of tasbih and with the Muslims on relaxation response, blood pressure, heart rate. So that's when I finally said medicine is moving in the right direction. Now today, we understand medicine is quantum healing, mind, body, heart, and spirit. But still, the mindset was treating the body and be detached. So what we need now is to bring different caliber of physicians who understand this concept of holistic medicine.
Do we need more doctors or?
Do we need more? No. Okay. So what's going to happen to understand what's going to go on in the next few years, and started already, the artificial intelligence is going to take over all the intellectual, mental aspect of medicine. When it comes to differential diagnosis, don't even try, because the AI will do it 100 times better than you. And it's happening already. In some disciplines or specialties in medicine, like radiology, already AI taking over. Because at the end of the day, what is it? It is pattern recognition and then scalability. A radiologist will look at, let's say, a CT scan to detect Alzheimer's disease, CT or. Now, this radiologist, let's say a radiologist had 30 years of experience. How many have seen? 10,000? The AI can review a million in a second, literally a million in a second. So now the AI can detect minute changes 5 years before the most knowledgeable, experienced radiologist. So he's taking over. In the future, I'll be working with my digital twin. All the mental, intellectual aspects of medicine will be handled by my digital twin. That digital twin could be in the form of small device in my ear. It could be a phone. Could be literally a robot. A robot I dress in the morning and walks with me. So what's left for me? What's left for me is the most valuable, important aspect of medicine, which is psychological, emotional, spiritual aspects of the human being, which is the core of medicine. To understand why this is the core of medicine, I would like to talk about John Travis, and I wish we can show it on the screen. John Travis was a physician in the 70s, and he realized that he has to develop a new model of medicine. So he set 3 different models or concepts. One of them called the iceberg model. What's the iceberg? The iceberg model, he shows you that you have a mountain. The iceberg usually, only about 10% of it you can see above water. 90% is immersed underwater. The quality of the mountain you see in the top is nothing but a reflection of what you didn't see under the water. So he said, your status or your wellness or your health, which you see here on the tip of the iceberg, nothing but a result of the quality of the mountain under the water. The first level he refers to as your lifestyle. When I say lifestyle, I'm talking about everything. Your mind, body, heart, and spirit. What you see, what you allow your eyes to see, your ears to hear, what you eat, what you drink, how you think, how you feel, how you walk, how you talk, how you sleep, the whole thing. That quality of life will impact your stat, which is the epigenetics, as we discussed, which is every gene, there's on top of it something called epigenetics, above genetics, where it turns on and off the genes. So if you follow the perfect, idealistic lifestyle, you'll be able to turn off any bad genes and turn on any good genes. Now, the question is, this lifestyle, we know so much of it today. We know what is right. We know what is wrong. We know smoking is bad. We know alcoholism is bad. We know that obesity is bad. We know that exercise is good. But why is it so many people, even though they know this lifestyle is destructive for them and for the environment, they continue to do it? Comes to the second level, which is motivation. Something about these people, they lack the motivation to change lifestyle. I had patients, smokers. I tried to convince them with all means, show them the impact. You know what they tell me? You think, Dr. Walid, this cigarette will make a difference to this world? Because he does not see his value. To him, it's so insignificant that he's willing to burn his life. So John Travis got to the base of the iceberg model. What do you think the base would be? It's going to be the being,
Meaning.
the meaning, how you see yourself. If you see yourself worth it, if you see how sacred you are, you understand that the Spirit of God in you, then you will have the motivation to change your lifestyle, to change your health. And especially for a believer, it's worshiping. We don't own our bodies. It's a gift from God. He's going to ask us what you have done. But if you do it well, He built the whole universe system, your body, built it in a way that He will reward you in this life before the afterlife, in a good quality of life. فَلَنُحْيِيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً. It's a good life. So you're going to get the results and the fruits of a high quality in this life, and at the same time, you're going to get the reward after life. So for us to begin to reverse, we have first to change the mindset, of the physicians and healers who are going to be our vehicles to help society and increase the awareness. That's exactly why I'm building my medical school. That's exactly why I call it At-Tabib al-Hakim, the wise physician. That's exactly why God, for a reason, delayed my medical school 20 years. You know, and I started this concept 20 years. God delayed it until I became to that maturity to understand exactly what I want. And that's why at age 60 now, all what I want is to be able to help bring out that caliber of physicians, the wise physicians who are able to be to help patients of the future or of today. The classical way of teaching
Yeah.
is going to produce a failure physician, even if that physician is the most bright, intelligent, if they lack emotional, psychological, spiritual intelligence. That's why the first thing I start with selection. Not every person deserves to be a vehicle of healing. Not every person deserves to be a physician, even if they have the highest scores. Because there are two types of people, two extremes. One extreme, they find happiness in giving. The other extreme, those they find happiness in receiving. The difference between the two is had been created and molded in the first 7 or 10 years of a child's life. Mothers. Mothers mold the brain of that child. So you have either have a high emotional intelligent, empathetic, loving, giving, or you have something else. So to me, first I start with the right selection for my medical school. I will not allow any student to enter with a minimal requirement of emotional intelligence, psychological intelligence, spiritual intelligence, because if I don't pick them right, whatever I do, I will not be able to produce the product I want. First day of medical school at George Washington, 1987, we were sitting together. And the good thing about physicians, if you speak to medical students in the first year, the vast majority are very idealistic. They went into medicine because they want to give, they want to do something good. To the point they're so much idealistic that they lack enough pragmatism for real life. Later in life, when they get into their 40s, they have kids, they want to go to college, they become more pragmatist and realize that I have to take care of my family, which is fine. But imagine 1987, there were like 6 or 7 of us, students, boys and girls. So we're talking, why did you go into medicine? 6 of us. They come with a mission. But there's one. He said, I want to go into medicine because I want to be extremely wealthy. I want to buy my red Porsche. That's why I'm going to go into plastic surgery. This guy doesn't belong to medicine. Because if he started from day number one financially driven, God knows after when he gets to 40, I mean, I'm sorry to say it, it's going to be a crook. All he wants is to maximize his net profit at the expense of patients. Such people should not allowed to go into medical schools, especially in this era, because the new era is not about your intelligence, not about your knowledge, it's about your passion, your caring, your emotional intelligence, psychological intelligence, spiritual intelligence to help your patients awaken their being, and you won't be able to do it if you are that type of a physician. That's why, for me, today is a passion of life. I'm 61 years old. What's left of my life? God describes life as 1 hour. What's left? Quarter of an hour? So I'm going to dedicate my life to work on this model and pray to God to help me to produce those doctors, help them who are going to be better than me. And that should be my contribution. Enough achievements for me. It's now for contributions. And that's what we lack in this world. Leaders focus on contributions, not achievements. Achievements more of ego. Contributions about helping others be better than you. And that's why, and if you look at the leadership levels, there's so many principles. One of them called the five category. There are 5 levels of leadership based on many of leaders and leadership styles. One of the categories, they identify level 4, which is a leader who can produce things. I mean, Steve Jobs, for example, you would rank him as level 4. A person who's creative, innovative. He produced many things for his company, like an iPod and so forth. Now, level 5 is a leadership style, which is rarely you see in this world. And there's a very old book, Good to Great and Built to Last, where they study companies and they discover that kind of type 5 leadership. These have paradox personality. They are humble, down to earth. You ask them, how did you achieve this success? They say, what kind of success? They don't even see it. At the same time, they have iron will. These people, when things go well, they look at others. They are the ones who've done it. And in our case, God help us. When things go wrong, they look in the mirror. That kind of leadership 5, they say the only way you identify them, in addition to what I described, when they die, their students make them more famous because they focus on contributions more than achievements. Level 4 achievements, like Steve Jobs. He died, his innovation died with him and went to somebody else. So here we're trying to build this model of leadership, which is called level 5, which is contribution. And I'm dedicating my life for this. I want to be able to focus on the rest of my life to produce this caliber of physicians, the Al-Tabib Al-Hakim, the wise physician. And if I succeed to bring physicians better than me, that means I've done my work. That's my passion. So it starts, Dr. Ala, with selection, selecting the right students who deserve to be physicians, as I discussed before. Those who find happiness in giving, not receiving. Those who have high emotional intelligence, high psychological intelligence, high spiritual intelligence. You start with this product, and then you provide them with the right environment, right teachers, because the last thing is you want to bring a teacher who does not exemplify what we're trying to achieve. You cannot create a humble physician when a teacher is arrogant. You cannot bring a physician who's non-financially driven when the teacher is financially driven. So you have to select the students carefully, and that selection I'm going to do it myself with my team, carefully. I don't want anyone to enter my medical school who doesn't have the minimum requirement for being able to reach what we call the wise physician. Choose the teachers carefully. Not about knowledge, it's beyond. They are the example. And then create the right environment and the curriculum. Alhamdulillah, we signed with Taiba, which has the Manchester, and also Cambridge, we're signing. But also we have our own curriculum of producing what we call the wise physician.
Can I stop you here about the wise physician, because this term is not used in English. We took it from the Al-Hakim.
Right.
And because in English sometimes they mention the wise who is elderly and gained
So what
wisdom.
do you think, Ala, would be the appropriate translation of Al-Tabib Al-Hakim in English?
So we can say the holistic physician, compassionate.
So you have to say. So again, you're right. When we talk about Al-Tabib Al-Hakim,
Just to
we
make
talk
it clear
about
in English.
5 major components. One of them, holistic, treats mind, body, heart, and spirit. 2, passionate, really cares. 3, advocate. It means that he understands his role is not confined to the walls of the hospital or a clinic. He or she goes wherever humans go. Wherever affect humans negatively is part of their job description. Prevention, health promotion. And that's, by the way, 2030 vision, focusing on how we create physicians who are advocates And that's why we have what we call health in all policies. And that's, alhamdulillah, part of our vision of 2030. And also, they have to be innovative, creative, research oriented. And what else?
The competent. Yeah, the
Unprofessional,
the main
incompetent, yeah, which is the classical
Yeah.
competent. So those five describes what you call al-tabib al-hakim. And you're absolutely right. When I speak in English about wise physician, it doesn't click. So we have to identify what we mean by the wise physician.
If we want to dig deep in the, so we identify who is the wise to differentiate between treatment and healing.
Well, you see, first of all, as we discussed earlier, that the West went through this where we thought of the patient as only a body. It's big difference between treating a disease and healing a person. Treating a disease doesn't mean you are helping to heal the patient. If you treat a disease, you might succeed or you might fail. But if you heal a person, you always succeed. The problem is, many times, that disease, first of all, the way we approach it through symptoms, and we try to treat that symptom. Give you an example. A patient comes with migraine. We try and find ways to treat the migraine. And if we succeed, suddenly the patient develops something else. Spastic colon. اللي هو colon اللي هو الجسم
Irritable bowel.
irritable bowel syndrome. Rash. You know what happened? Because when they did treat the migraine, they did not go into the root cause of that headache and migraine. So what you've done,
Suppress the symptoms.
suppress the symptoms, so that the root cause of the disease had to manifest itself somewhere else. So it came out as irritable bowel syndrome, as جسمه rash, okay, القولون العصبي, right? So anxiety and so forth. So first of all, you have to understand difference between the symptoms and the disease. That's number one. When you have a headache, this is mercy from God. Your intelligent body is telling you that you have lost your balance. For God's sake, bring my balance back. So instead of taking medication, you should step back. Say, why do I have a headache? Could be dehydration, could be stress, could be lack of sleep, could be it's time for me to change my eyeglasses. Could be. So instead of doing this, many physicians, which learned in the, unfortunately, the mentality of the West, which is treating the body. For example, you've probably heard the term called spot diagnosis. What do you mean spot diagnosis? You have to understand the human being. So the root cause of the disease.
System biology.
So that's why sometimes when I talk about holistic, people think about, so we talk about complementary medicine, alternative medicine. No, I'm talking about the right medicine. It's not alternative, it's not complementary, it's the right medicine. Root cause. Every single individual is different than any other human being. I have to dive in to find out why this patient has this migraine. There's nothing called migraine. To make it easier on ourselves, we collected some symptoms and we said, let's give these symptoms a name called migraine. But a migraine for this person has different root cause than this person. We try to oversimplify it to a point that we killed the individual in how individuals are as a human being. Now, the wise physician is the one who's able to dive in, look at the human being in front of him as one human being. And the most important thing, treat every patient, different patient, communicate on a being level, try to motivate that physician by إحياء الكينونة, awaken the being. So you have the motivation to change your lifestyle and to change your health. This is the future physician in the AI era. And to be honest with you, even without AI era, but it's going to be more significant because in the AI era, no one will be able to catch up with the physician with extremely high emotional intelligence, high social intelligence, high spiritual intelligence, because my digital twin will beat any other physician
Intellectual.
in differential diagnosis. You know, there's a show called Dr. House, right? Dr. House is the worst model of medicine. Basically, a physician who's very intelligent, who can do spot diagnosis, differential diagnosis, but because he's so intelligent, they show a physician and that just justifies him to be impolite, insulting, chaotic, addict. What kind of model is this? These kind of physicians in the new era will have no place in medicine, because I assure you, my digital twin will beat every one of them. But then, the most important thing, how I am as a human being able to connect with you as a patient, to awaken your being, to have you motivated to change your lifestyle and change your health, especially if you do it in a way that the patient realizes this is worshipping of God. Because in our religion, this is inseparable. This is part of your worshipping. وما اقتصر سجودي في صلاة فقلبي ساجد طول الحياة. All these concepts is going to become the future of medicine here and the West, but we would like to lead here, inshallah, in our university.
Inshallah. If you want to talk about the placebo effect and the biology of belief.
Okay, so one of the models that we have to re-examine is what we call placebo factor. In the past, for any person who is not a physician or healthcare background, they tell you that you can give a person a pill which has no medicine, and tell the patient this pill, for example, will treat certain disease. We found that patients do respond positively. In some studies, a study in Brown University, I remember, for antidepressant, they gave a patient placebo, a pill which has nothing. When the patient was convinced that this pill will help them with depression, they got 90% of the results of the real medicine. Now, what happened over the last 30 years? Drug companies, they want to make money. You know how much money it takes to produce one drug?
Billion.
$1 billion in almost 10 years. So they bring patients and they do what you call double-blind control studies. Part of the studies, they give patients nothing, pill, and they give them the real medication. They compare. In every single study, the people who got the placebo, they get some benefits. Some studies goes up to 70%. If the real medicine gives you another 10 and 20%, they say approved. And people pay billions of dollars for that extra 10 to 20%. So what happened about the 70%? They threw it. Why? It doesn't make money. It does not make money. But that part is basically the self-healing, the faith factor. It's not placebo. God put this one inside of our intelligent body. So instead of capitalizing on this, drug companies try to minimize this so they can maximize this, and they sell drugs. We are obligated through bringing the wise physician to maximize this. I call it faith factor. You see, our bodies are miraculous. All it requires from you, bring back the balance to that body and let it self-heal. I believe there'll be millions of medications within our bodies we're not going to discover until the day of judgment. We will not. You know the amount of natural morphine your body can produce, short of killing you, is much, much, much more than any morphine you can give. And that's why even you hear stories of the companions, Urwa ibn Zubair, when they want to cut his leg, they say, wait until I go into my prayer. They say, we'll give you mukhaddir, anesthesia, or alcohol. He said, I don't want to lose one of my legs when I'm drunk. They say, we're going to bring people to hold you. He said, no need. Just let me go into my prayer. What was he doing? He was recruiting his internal self-healing, recruiting internal mechanisms and medications, including morphine. Now, in the Far East, they do it. The West, which is our medicine, they don't do that. It's purely materialistic. But even in the West, in China and others, they do that. So my point is, we should capitalize on this, which we call the faith factor. Our model that we've been working on, Hala and our team, for the last 10 years, we've established the first model of training physicians to capitalize on this faith factor. And you saw yourself, every time a university comes to visit us, we negotiate with like five or six top universities worldwide. When they come in, you see how they look? And after they finish
They admire the work.
healing, listening to our model, they become humble. And they understand this is reciprocal relationship, partnership. We learn from them, but they also learn from us. Now, faith factor. Our study based on, first of all, every single study dimension, 4 dimensions. One dimension, how the patient believes that there is a superpower, in our case, God, who heals. The minute the patient believes that he's a God and God will heal me, based on thousands of studies, this will help patients heal faster. And these are studies, peer review articles, strong studies and articles. Second one, and I wish we can show it to the audience. Number 2, the faith of that patient, that this physician in front of me knows and cares. By the way, patients are able to judge their physicians within the first few minutes, especially the part whether they care or not.
Mm.
Once the patient realizes and convinced that this patient, this doctor, cares and knows, immediately the internal self-healing mechanisms, the faith factor boost that based on studies. So the number 2, which is the faith of the patient in the physician, knowledge and caring. There's another component. Whether this physician is worthy for God to pass his healing power through him. And there are physicians who are blessed. We could have 2 surgeons, absolutely same skills. But there's one of them. He's so pious, so humble, doesn't even see himself. So God will pass his healing power through this person because that person doesn't see himself. There's no ego here. So it's not about 1 + 1 = 2. This is healing. And healing comes from God. So number 2. Number 3, third factor, patient's confidence and faith that he is able to fight the disease. And here comes the role of the physician. How can I help that patient have more confidence in themselves? The fourth one, the faith of that patient in the medications and the treatment. If we established a new generation of doctors, students, who are able to capitalize on those 4 factors, the amount of healing that the patient will get, I assure you, even in some instances, far exceeds any medications you give to a patient. We have the curriculum, and that curriculum I am going to teach in my medical school. And now I understand why God delayed my medical school almost 20 years. When I came back from the States in 2002, at that time we already had the plan for the medical school. For a reason which I did not understand until today, this has been delayed because what God wants me to have the maturity to start it right.
Yeah.
And inshallah, this year we'll start our first year in medical school. And again, I'm emphasizing the selection. I will not allow any person, student, to enter that medical school if they don't have the minimum requirement. That will qualify them to reach that level of the At-Tabib Al-Hakim, the wise physician.
When we always talk about education, always education was content delivery and knowledge transfer rather than thinking and
You see,
evoking
Dr. Ala, my son, over the last 20 years, I've been searching the meaning of the verse of the Holy Book. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وعلم آدم الأسماء كلها. God taught Adam all the names. So I've read almost every interpretation every يعني اللي هو تفاسير القرآن explanation. What does it mean? Does that mean we have all the knowledge within each one of us? Or does it mean the abstract or the ability to learn? Until I got to a story of Socrates, Socrates. Socrates was able to bring out the نظرية Pythagoras, the theory of Pythagoras, from an illiterate young slave at that time who does not read and does not write. He told him, let's have a square. If we want this square to be double, what do you do? He said, I will make double اللي هي الضلع اللي هي the sides,
Angle, yeah.
the sides. So he did it. He said, look, what do you think? So, he kept asking, until finally he drew a diagonal. He said, let's have double the diagonal. That was Pythagoras' theory. He was able to bring out that theory from an illiterate young slave. Then he said, Socrates, his word, أنا لا أعلم, I do not teach. أنا قابلة العلم, I am the one who delivers knowledge. And exactly like a person who just. So his way of doing it is just by asking. Socrates never give you answers, just ask you. Even if you want to convince you about something, 500-page book, he starts with a question. Once you answer the first question, he got you already. I would like to use this methodology to bring the knowledge, the wisdom from within.
Active learning.
Addison, active learning. Addison, in the last 100 years, no innovator have achieved more than Addison. More than 1,000 inventions. You know his story? First day of school, he came back to his mother with an envelope. She opened the envelope. She read it. She broke into tears. He said, Mom, what does it say? She said, they say here that you're so intelligent, son. They don't have good teachers to teach you. I will teach you. So what did she do? She allowed him to research. Whatever he wants, take. He used to do experiments. He used to work as a اللي هو ساعي بريد in the post office. And at one time he burned a train. He kept just exploring, just researching, asking questions. So what she did, she got him out from the typical classical schools اللي هي التلقين اللي هي just feeding your brain, to the model of asking questions, and whatever books you want, I'll get you the books. More than 1,000 innovation. By the way, Edison said the best reward on earth is mothers, gift mothers. So his mother got so sick, and the doctors told him she will die simply because they can't operate at night. There's no light. And she won't be able to survive until the morning. Edison says in his biography, he said, I pray to God, keep my mother until the morning, and I spend whatever left of my life trying to make sure that we get a sustainable light. She survived. And he tried almost 10,000 times to bring a light which is sustainable, and he did. And he did witness that celebration when oil of New York turned into light because of Edison. Now later, after his mother died, he was going over his stuff, and he found an envelope. He never saw it. He opened the envelope, and he read it. If I remember correctly, it says like, your son is retarded or idiot or retarded, and we can't teach your son. Just imagine, a classical school tells a child that he is retarded and idiot, and becomes the one who came with most innovations and inventions in the last 100 years. Why? Because he was giving the chance to explore, to ask. We are killing brains بمفهوم التلقين, just by. So in my medical school, I'm going to take this curriculum. I'm trying to help the students, bring from them the wisdom that they don't even know they have it. Every one of us has all the knowledge. When they get the information by question, what happens to them? They have it for life because it came from within, not somebody gave it to me. In our medical school, the first in the States, I went to the USA system. So I finished my engineering. I finished, alhamdulillah, magna cum laude, first in my class. Then I went to medical school. It's 4 years only. 2 years, first 2 years, more of basic, and then 2 years clinical. In the first 2 years, we have some of the students score 100%, multiple choices. But when they go to practice, they flunk, they fail. They don't have the right emotional, psychological, spiritual intelligence. They can't bring everything together. So you see how our exams not reflecting what we really need on the clinical ground. That gap is created because we focused on the intelligence part. That's going to be taken out because my digital twin will be able to do any differential diagnosis, will beat the most intelligent brain. The issue now, am I capable as a physician to awaken your being as a patient, to have the motivation to change your lifestyle or not? And that's exactly the product we would like to produce at our medical school.
Great. Also, there is a nice quote by Edison. You remind me when you talk about his story. The doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will involve the patient in the proper use of food, fresh air, and exercise.
It's interesting, Edison, not a physician, but because all his life has been getting the knowledge through questioning, what happened to him? He became wise. He was able to see even how medicine will evolve in the future. This is the free mind. This is the quality that humans deserve. The problem is when you start making copies. By the way, the only way you can judge a teacher is by his students. You have Al-Shafi'i, we have Ahmed bin Hanbal. صح?
Yeah.
Shafi'i is the teacher of Ahmed bin Hanbal. Was Ahmed bin Hanbal a copy of Shafi'i? Not a copy. But in the day of judgment, he said, Ahmed bin Hanbal, every day I pray for Shafi'i. He's my teacher. But he was able to bring the best version of him, a new way of looking at things. If you produce a copy of you, you're a failure. If you're able to bring from that human being, your student, the best, and they become better than you in your discipline, you succeeded. At my age, son, I'm 61 years old. I don't know how much left in my life, but I know one thing. God says this whole life is 1 hour. ساعة من نهار يتعارفون. So what's left? Quarter of an hour.
May Allah give you barakah.
Inshallah. So my prayer to God, give me at least 10 years to produce a whole generation of أطباء حكماء. And that's called contribution. Achievements is when you focus on things that you produce for yourself. Contributions is what makes you a different kind of a leader. So when you die, every one of those students, every good deed is added to your scale in the day of judgment. And that's what you want on medical school. That's why I'm going to be very careful to select those students carefully. The fact that somebody comes with a 100% score and have the money to pay for the tuition, that is not an access. Could have somebody who is less in terms of scores, doesn't even have the money, but is the right person, worthy to be a physician. I will fight to get scholarship for that student. And that's my mission of life, not to let anyone enter if they don't deserve to be a physician. And the same thing, choose the teachers well, because they are the example, al-qudwa, and choose the curriculum. And I myself will teach the faith factor and the compassion, the advocate part of medicine, which is the core of medicine, especially in the future.
So if I want to summarize it in the medical education terms, we are not only focusing on the competency-based medical education as we are evolving in the last 30 years, also we are including or introducing the character-based, building the character of the physician,
It's actually the essence.
not the competency of it.
But competency is the essence of medicine. We're going back now to medicine that should have been, if we as Muslims did not lose the leadership in medicine, we've been leading for 1,000 years. If we did not lose it today, you would have different medicine. Comprehensive, mind, body, heart, medicine, mind, body, heart, holistic, compassionate, advocate, all those concepts.
And building this character will end up with identity formation, which is al-huwiyya.
The character is nothing but a result of first start with the being. Awaken the being. The being, what's the being? It's the spirit of God. You know that 99 is a scientific fact. We are 99.9999 emptiness. Yes, emptiness. But why is it that we don't feel it? Because God did not want you to feel it this way. But we are emptiness based on scientific fact when they measure the atom, the proton, electron, and neutron. That emptiness, either filled with the Spirit of God, you become something else. Or could be filled with mud. ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين. As a vehicle of healing, if you are, as a physician, not a source of healing, you see that each one of us is surrounded by the electromagnetic field. كانوا يقولون, they used to say, كنا نذهب الإمام أحمد, we go to Imam Ahmad, فنأخذ منه طاقة شهر. We receive from him an energy for 1 month. In Arabic, I said, نحن كائنات روحية في قوالب باطنية في رحلة قصيرة أرضية. Sometimes you enter to a patient, we are spiritual being in container of mud in a short journey on this earth. Sometimes you enter, a patient enters to a physician without even the physician talking, the patient already feels the serenity, the calmness, and the healing starts. Sometimes you go to a physician who he himself or she is suffering and have negative energy. And this poor patient goes in to receive a prescription and might get out of there already poisoned by the energy of this physician or the attitude. Remember the studies we used to share? How the attitude of the physician, the intention of the physician will affect the healing. Thousands of studies tells you even the intention of the physician, the compassion of the physician will affect the healing. Now remind me to go over the paintings. Okay. Actually, we can do it now. In one studies, they brought the physicians and they did a study. The same physician, in one scenario, they introduced an allergy, صح?
Yeah, allergy to the skin.
The skin, and they told the patient, we're going to give you a cream, and the cream actually has nothing. Placebo. So when the physician said this will actually subside, suppress or subside the inflammation, it did. When they told him this will actually make it worse, it did work worse. However, they found that when the physician shows caring, asked about the family and asked about the patient, eye contact, shook hands, the effect became much more significant. When the doctor told the patient this is effective, it goes up. When they say this is ineffective, it goes down. So basically, how the patient looks at the doctor, whether they care and know, affects how the self-healing. So it's not about medication.
Yeah.
Big part of it has to do with internal healing, how you are going to recruit your internal mechanisms for healing. Our bodies are miraculous. We're becoming arrogant. I swear to God, I have no doubt there will be millions of medications internally we're not going to discover until the day of judgment. My job as a physician, how can I help this patient recruit these internal mechanisms? Let's talk now about the modern medicine. I always show 3 paintings. One painting is called The Doctor, and I wish you can show it to the audience. Very famous painting. It's a painting of a child in a bed, basically dying, a physician leaning forward and focusing on the child. The lamp, the light, is focused on the face of the child, away from the medications. The parents are in the background. The woman, the mother, is sobbing, leaning her head on a table. The father standing, trying to support the mother, but away. It looks like the room that this patient is poor. What's the story? The story is the following. This physician called Gustavo something, and the painter is the father in the background. He wanted to honor that physician. The story is that this child is dying, and there is nothing the physician could do. And that's why the painter put the medication aside. So what is this physician staying to do? When I ask my students, every time I get presentation, they say he's thinking, he's analyzing, he's observing. Rarely they see caring, as if we're robots. The amount of care and love, the electromagnetic field of this physician is healing. But there's something else. Why did this physician not leave? There's no place for medications. This physician, Dr. Gustavo, stayed overnight on a Christmas night. He left his family and children until he buried that child next morning with the family. So that painting represents when the physician used to be mind, body, heart, and spirit, not treating a disease, but healing a patient and a family. This is ideal. Before medicine became financial transactions, home health. I go, visit, goodbye. My hour finished. The second painting, about 10, 20 years later, by Picasso, and it shows his sister on a bed, and please show it to the audience, dying. And a physician holding the hand of his sister, focusing on the vital signs. His head is away from the patient, detached. And the nurse, which at that time a nun, holding the child, and the mother, her eyes are focused on that nun. So basically, medicine have been divided into 2 institutions. One, a physician focused on the physical aspect only, and the nurse happened to be a nun, focusing on the psychological, emotional, spiritual part. That I lived in 1987 when I went to medical school. It was a taboo to talk to a patient about anything but his or her physical illness. I could be kicked out of medical school. Later, I worked with Dr. Benson and the founder of Mind Body Institute at Harvard. And he himself talks about the effect of at-tasbih. Okay? He's Jewish, tasbih, which is the in Islamic culture, ايش التسبيح اللي هو I don't know, يعني, mentioning the name of God, repeating same words, the effect of relaxation response, blood pressure, heart rate, and EEG. Now, go to the second. So the second painting show you how medicine became 2 institutions. The third painting, which, what was the name of the second painting?
The sentence of that.
No, the third one. The second one is where medicine has been divided into 2 institutions. That's the Picasso painting. The third one is called Death Sentence. And in that, you see a wealthy patient, young. And please show it to the audience. And you see a physician. Now, in any painting, if you have a creative painter, there's a center of that painting. How this center defined is part of the painting that doesn't give you the leisure of escaping, pulls you in. If you look at the picture, I want the audience to see it. The center is very clear. The eyes of that patient. You see the confusion. You see the pain. you see the suffering, you see the fear. What happened? This physician told that patient that he has cancer and he's dying. Death sentence. If you look at the physician in that painting, quite detached, there's a desk between him and the patient. The physician sitting in a way, sending a message of total detachment, not caring. Although in this painting, you can tell that the patient is very wealthy, but all his money could not buy him the compassion of his physician. The first painting, the doctor, the patient is very poor, and you can tell the physician is wealthy, but he got all the passion to the point that that physician who's wealthy left his family and children Christmas night to stay with that patient to bury a child. See how it transformed from medicine where the physician cares regardless of the patient who cannot afford even probably his fee, to a medicine where a patient who's so wealthy cannot buy the care, compassion of a doctor. And that's why we are less happy and less healthy. And we are living in a world that needs to be corrected. I'm trying to do my part. I'm trying to build a medical school to bring the wise physicians, compassionate. That's why, again, selection, very careful. Those who deserve to be physicians, and not everybody deserves to be a physician.
And this answers our question why we don't need more physician, but we need more physician who, different kind of physician who think differently and moving or redefining the medicine from transactional to transformational. And with this,
We bring back humanity. And you ask a question, myself, why did I go into medicine? I mean, so many reasons. One of them, actually, my father. My father, he sort of begged me when I was in my engineering, because every time he goes and see a patient praying on the soul of the parents of that doctor, he says, "Who's gonna pray for me?" But there's one incident that changed my life. I think it was in 80s. There was an incident in one of the airlines in the States, United States, probably it's Delta Airlines. A patient dropped and apparently has pneumothorax where the lungs collapse. And the only physician was internal medicine. This physician has no privileges to do any procedure. He doesn't. And at that moment, he has to make a choice. Either say, I'm internal medicine, I have no privileges to do anything. By the way, the only way to do it is creating a chest tube to get the air out, so the pressure of the lung doesn't push against the aorta and the heart, and the patient would die. He had two choices. Confine himself to his privileges, and that's his right, by the way. Say, I cannot do anything, and see the patient dies in front of him, called defensive medicine. What did he do? He decided to try. Doesn't have privileges. And he managed to put a hanger and created a chest tube, and it did work.
Mm.
Later, they had an interview with him. And the interviewer told him, you could have lost your privileges. He said, I would rather lose my privileges. I would rather lose my license, but I'm not willing to lose my humanity. These are kind of physicians we need to bring. It happened to me. It happened to me about, I think, a year and a half ago. A friend of mine who is older than me, but I consider him as a brother. He came, and his children himself kept delaying doing اللي هي cath. Not actually cath. We knew that he has blockage. We need to do a stent. So he came in a critical case. And my assessment and my cardiologist that if he doesn't go in right now, he's going to die. The children refused to sign the consent. I did the one thing that no CEO, no physician would do. I put the consent and I signed. Because at that moment, I have to answer to myself and to my creator. Do I answer to him and to my conscience? Do I allow him to die just to say that they refused? Or I would take the risk? I took the risk. He went in. The invasive cardiologist got the clot. He said 10 minutes, he'd be dead. Until today, this man speaks everywhere that my brother Walid, my young brother Walid, saved my life. But it could turn bad. It could have turned back. But I would rather turn back externally. But I stay متصالح مع نفسي. I answer to a higher authority. I want to make sure that he is pleased with my action. And I, when I look in the mirror, I am happy with my action. Alhamdulillah, God got him out. And today he said, he saved my life. Most likely I'm not going to do it again because it's dangerous. At that moment, I had to do the choice. Be a human physician or a typical CEO physician, defensive medicine.
Thank you, Dr. Walid. It is a great honor and pleasure working under your supervision, building the future physician, wise physician. If you want to conclude this discussion and podcast in final word.
We are living in a very critical time in human history. We are not in this world, we don't lack technology. We don't even lack wealth. We don't lack resources. We're going through spiritual starvation. And I believe if there's any hope for this world, it's going to be in the hands of physicians. Why do I say that? Because patients come to us for help. They come weak. And only when a human becomes sick, they allow an opportunity for their physicians to go in. This is our opportunity to awaken the being. And they come, these patients, from all facets of life. We treat everyone, from the youngest person to the highest level of leadership. And if I can awaken enough critical mass of healers, we'll be able to start awakening the being. The more we awaken that being, the more we become human, the more we treat the spiritual starvation, the better world will be. The issue is not about medical school, or not even Tabib al-Hakim. It's about survival as humans. I will do my part. And through this, I do pray to God there'll be so many others joining to help humanity, because if we don't, the price is going to be so heavy for all of us. God created this universe in a very specific way. If you care about your fellow human being, 1 + 1 will equal not 2, 11. It's called synergy. God created this world this way because He's testing us. And the more we're kind to each other, the more we help each other, the better the world will be. And it's my mission of life through One Medical School.